Welcome, everyone, to Quadcast Episode 2, the only four-wheeled off-road podcast rated 100% cage-free by ATV enthusiasts worldwide, or at least Jeff and I. Jeff, welcome to Episode 2.
Hey, guys. It's good to see you again. We had a really good experience with Episode 1. Glad to be back. Got some great stuff coming up in this show.
Well, what do we have?
I guess you want to know about it. We're going to talk about 2026 Kawasaki's and Honda ATVs. They were just announced recently. We're going to talk about some of the subtle changes and some of the things we like and maybe some of the things we don't like so much. Another big exciting thing that's happened is there are some new changes that have come along that could open the door for big manufacturers to look at the potential to bring back a new sport quad. And these have to do with legislative changes affecting California emissions. It directly affects California, and everything that happens in California seems to affect the rest of us. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a few. And then I'm really looking forward to our special guest, Pete Hager, who really doesn't need an introduction. He's the guy that founded the SaveSportQuads movement. And we're going to talk to him all about sport quads today, one of our favorite topics.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right, it's time for Wide Open Wire, the segment of the show where we cover the latest news and events going on in the world of ATVs. Jeff, what do we have on the docket for July?
We got some cool news that just came through. The Trump administration is cracking down on California, in particular the California Air Resources Board, also known as CARB, and their gas ban, which mandated no gas vehicles being sold in the state of California after 2035. That's out. They also are coming in and telling California they cannot establish stricter emissions rules above what the EPA has mandated. Of course, Gavin Newsom is suing on this, so it's not a done deal yet. But if California does lose, then it'll open up the door for models like the YFZ 450R and the Honda 700 Rubicon to be sold in California. Once again, those vehicles were actually banned, I think, back in 2022 when CARB established these stricter emissions controls. The big question for us, though, is does this open the door for new sport quads and, taking a little bit further, two-stroke sport quads?
Well, I think it should certainly open the door to more sport quads, because I know right now with any manufacturer, the big hurdle in recent years has been, can they get it compliant in California? And that's been the big challenge. And we haven't seen a two-stroke sport quad for a long, long time. I think.
Yeah, what was it? 06? I think it was the last year of the Banshee in the U.S.
I believe so, and maybe also the Blaster. So it's been a while since we've had a two-stroke, and in ATVs, two strokes are dead because we don't have a red sticker certification, which is for closed course competition. All the ATVs have to be green sticker compliant, and there was just no space for a two stroke in that for quads. Now it's there for dirt bikes. It has been. Yamaha's offered a YZ250 two stroke for years, along with KTM, Husqvarna Gas, but two strokes are really heating up in dirt bikes right now, aren't they?
Yeah, I want to show you the cover of, this is a July cover of Dirt Bike, our sister publication. We are also Motocross Action, but that right there is the new Fantic. I believe this is from Italy. It is a 300cc two-stroke. Below that, you see the new Riehu 300 two-stroke also. TM has two strokes. Everybody is coming out with new two-strokes. Of course, we talked about, Kawasaki is getting ready to, they're putting together getting back into two-stroke dirt bikes again. And we know that there's no KX500 in that, but we do believe there is something in the 300, maybe 300cc plus range as far as displacement goes. Beta is the big deal here, though. Beta just released information that they are developing a 350cc two-stroke engine to go into their new MX bike. They haven't released information on any enduros yet, but we expect that 350cc will be in place for those also. The neat thing about that engine is it's counterbalanced, and you know what that means.
Right. It won't vibrate the chassis into bits or make your hands numb within a lap.
Yep, which you must have for an ATV chassis. So somebody getting their hands on that engine and building a hybrid with that Beta 350 counterbalance motor, man, that's going to be sweet. And we've already got confirmation. We asked Mike Walsh. He's already on it. He's looking to get one of those engines and build a hybrid. I cannot wait to see this thing. It's going to be great.
That'll be very exciting. Now, we have heard, obviously, Kawasaki blew the internet up with discussion about them coming back with a KX two stroke. We have heard from a couple of sources externally from Kawasaki that Kawasaki is considering a four-wheeled variant of their two-stroke engine. Although the officials that we've talked to internally at Kawasaki are saying, oh, there's no red sticker for quads. We couldn't do it if we wanted to. But of course, are they trying to politic their way into doing it? They're not going to tell us that, because they'd be telling us their plans.
I don't even know what's going on with the green sticker, red sticker. I don't think there is a green sticker anymore, is there? It's strange, and it does seem like they have a whole different set of rules for ATVs versus motorcycles involving competition use only.
Well, for Kawasaki or Beta, boy, could they light the ATV world on fire if they were to bring a two-stroke to market. We can cross our fingers and hope.
Exactly. I would be definitely in line. Take my money now. Where do I send a deposit? I'd be all over that. Anything new, four wheels with a two-stroke engine, that's big news. And speaking of Kawasaki, they did drop their 2026 lineup recently. What do you know about that, Joe?
I gave it a look over the other day, and nothing big. It looks like for 26 so far. They did release the 2026 Brute Force 750 lineup, which got in the two base models, the base model and the EPS model. There's new colorways. Pricing went up $100 for each machine. No changes other than that. They did change the LE model, the limited edition that we have as a 25 test unit, into an SE, a special edition model. And they did make a couple of changes to that model. They added a worn VRX 2,500 pound winch, and they added a front brush car to the machine. It went through, since the other machines got a $100 price increase, we just assumed the bare bones of this machine got a $100 price increase. And so essentially you're going to pay an extra $1,200 for the VRX 25 winch and the brush guard installed from the factory. It seems a little pricey for those couple of upgrades. I didn't dig into whether or not the special edition, the power steering version's bodywork was painted. Maybe that's a difference between the power steering and the special edition. But from what I saw, it seems like you're paying $1,200 for the winch and the bumper. I guess if you really want it.
We priced that out, actually. If you're mechanically inclined, you could add those things yourself for
a
little extra coin.
Right. For, $800, give or take. You could put that stuff on yourself. So if those are items you really want and you want to finance them into the machine, have at it. If not, I'd probably buy the power steering model and just accessorize it to meet my needs. But that is me. The Brute Force 300 hasn't changed very much at all since it came out. Still a good little reliable unit. They're still listing that as a 2025. Expect it'll be back as a 26. So nothing new to report on that yet. And then the Brute Force 450 just came out last year. We both reviewed it. They're still listing it as a 25, and the price hasn't changed on that. Actually, I think I did see a $500 rebate on Kawasaki.com. So if that's a machine you're interested in, you might be able to save a little coin on it right now if you pull the trigger. And then it's funny, you go to the Kawasaki website and then there's the KFX section. So you click it eagerly, and here's the KFX 50 and 90, no 450, but they tweaked the color a little bit for 26. Those are 26 models now. They added that blue to the graphic that they're doing in the KX dirt bike lineup for 2026. And the good news is that there is no price increase. The price on those two models is holding steady. And that's kind of what's going on for Kawasaki and the ATV stuff so far. Don't expect we're going to see anything groundbreaking this year, but it's back. But Honda's got their 26 stuff out as well, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They just dropped information recently about the Ranchers, the Foreman, and the Foreman Rubicon for the 26 model year. There are, I think, some color changes there. Nothing new to talk about as far as functional changes go, which is kind of typical. Anybody that, if you haven't checked out the website of the 2026 models, unfortunately, there is not a new TRX 450R there, or a TRX TR for that matter.
But thanks for tuning in to check.
Yeah, exactly. But there is some exciting news on the Honda side that we dug up. And just July 8th, there was a patent drawing that dropped for, and I'm going to pull this up right now to share my screen. Let's see if I can make that work. Here we go. We got some info on a steering wheel, and this is side-by-side related, but it's very interesting. A lot of the stuff that we've heard coming down from Honda, or actually people in the know with Honda, they're not real happy with the way their Talon program is working, although the Talon, I think, is a great machine. It's just not up there with the horsepower of the Polaris and the Can-Am. But this dropped a new steering wheel, and in the text, if you go through it, it said this is designed for a side-by-side, but this is not your typical side-by-side steering wheel. And it actually looks much more like the steering wheel you remember from the Honda Pilot and the Odyssey before that, back in the 80s and even 70s.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. As you go down through the different drawings too, I'm going to go down to the one where they have the hand placement on this wheel. Should be this next photo. You can see where the thumbs are at. That tells me that this is a 90-degree turn. It's a very quick turning machine, which would mean that this is a smaller machine. It kind of makes us wonder, is Honda looking at going back to a machine that is narrower, that can fit on 50-inch wide trails, that you can ride just about anywhere, while a lot of the bigger side-by-sides are actually being banned from some parks and areas that have narrower trails. And are they looking to create, do they recognize that right now we're in an uncertain economic situation with the entire U.S. where people are looking for more affordable options? That's what we think is going on.
Right. And if that's something they're doing, while they might continue to tell us that they don't see a demand for a sport ATV, they clearly, if they're going down this road, and this turns out to be what we think it is, something like a resurgence of a Pilot, maybe a Pilot with a little bit more utility capability. We have no way of knowing, but it appears that Honda sees that building things that cost as much as boats, you really limit your potential customer base, and selling things that cost less means you have a larger audience to buy into your brand, to become a future customer, to buy even higher end ticket items. So, while it's in no way an indication of a TRX 450R hitting the market, we know Honda has a couple of TRX 450Rs sitting in the rafters, and the fact that they are looking at more budget friendly options apparently could be a good sign for that. And we'll hope for more good things to come from Honda at some point.
Maybe we're just being optimistic, but it makes sense, And going back to the Pilot, this thing was made in 89 and 90. They didn't do real well back at the time. And it's kind of funny, all of us in the media, and as we talk to other people, the ongoing theme with this is that it was just, over the last decade, a couple of decades, is that the Pilot was just ahead of its time. And maybe that time has come back, I'd love to see it, actually. So
I would too. I'd love it even more if I could throw my leg over it though. So,
yeah.
Either way, it'd be cool. And I can't say that we're rooting for a caged vehicle, because then we'll have to be 98% cage free in the next episode, and just keep it at 100.
Yeah. I'm still looking for that. That's the whole reason I go over to that patent site, is I'm looking for new sport ATVs. So next, speaking of ATVs, let's go over to Yamaha. Something really cool happened at the snowshoe race, which is also known as Blackwater 2.0 because of all the water that's involved at that race.
Did you see any of the video clips from that race?
I did, and it was insane. It was as good as anything I remember from back in the Blackwater days. Saw a lot of GoPro footage from the racers even, and the amount of people that were down there in Howard's Hole, aka McGill Mountain, which might actually be known as Fowler Mountain now, who won this event. It was pretty cool. If you guys haven't seen it yet, go check out the snowshoe videos on YouTube.
Yeah, it looked like an insane party.
Yeah, I wish I could have been there for sure. One interesting thing though that happened was Yamaha's Scott Newby, who's the guy that we talk to all the time for press materials and all that. He was out there racing on a Grizzly 700. What do you hear about that, Joe?
I talked to Scott. He sent me a few pictures of the bike. I think he said his shocks didn't show up in time. He had wheels and tires and some bumpers put on it. Looked like the light pod had been pulled off. He put on a set of Fast Company flex bars, just light modifications to make sure it survived the race. And I talked to him after it, and he said as much as he hated to admit it, but He raced a YFZ last year at Snowshoe, and now this year he raced the Grizzly he raced the YFZ last year at Ironman, and
Ironman, yeah.
raced the Grizzly this year at Snowshoe. And I think he was kind of happy to be on the Grizzly because he said it's so technical. The YFZ would have been, much more of a challenge, I guess, on that track. Whereas on that Grizzly, he could just plow through. He seemed to have a really great time, but it's kind of funny. With last episode, we were discussing Yamaha's patent drawings of what looks to be a twin-cylinder sport 4x4. And now, call it hopium, maybe completely unrelated, but now here is, a press guy from Yamaha at a GNCC event racing a 4x4 ATV. I was asked by a couple of people who heard about Yamaha showing up and racing. They were like, oh, were they racing that new prototype machine that they've got? No, it was a Grizzly 700, but Yamaha was there racing a 4x4. And I don't know when the last time that happened was, or if it's ever happened. It just kind of makes you wonder, with that new machine in patents, here's a Yamaha guy racing a four-wheel drive at GNCC. Was it just for fun, or are they getting the feel for racing 4x4s knowing they've got a machine in the works? I don't know.
It sounds like a scouting mission to me.
Right.
So, yeah, very hopeful to see that new 850, maybe even 1,000. Who knows? I doubt it, but I'd love to see an 850 twin in this new sport quad that we've been, or sport 4x4 that we've been seeing coming through the patent.
If I was a pro 4x4 guy, I would be polishing up my resume to send to Big Blue.
Yeah. And for you guys that think that that's never going to happen, that patent's been getting update after update. So they are still working with that. We are very optimistic that we're going to see something in the near future. Speaking of the GNCC series, there's a cool movie coming out next year celebrating 50 years of GNCC racing from 1975 to 2025. That movie is going to release next year, 2026. But just last month, some of the original 2, 3, and 4-wheel racers from the 70s and 80s showed up to participate in part of the filming of that documentary in Davis, West Virginia, where the start of the original Blackwater race began. They actually did some fake starts right there. There's a lot of our buddy Bob Klein, who was a former freewheeler champion with Blackwater. He was in attendance with his, I think he had a 350X with the Kermit the Frog deal that he has up on the handlebars. That was the machine that he originally raced back in the 80s. And several of the other three-wheeler guys were there too, doing the same. I know that there's going to be a tribute to Bob Sloan, icon in ATV racing, in that movie. Barry Hawk, I think, still the only guy to win a 2- and 4-wheel championship with GNCC will be mentioned in that, along with a whole bunch of former and new racers like Adam McGill is in there, Walker Fowler, Hannah
Hunter.
Hannah Hunter. She's going to be on hand for that. Very cool thing. Look for that movie next year. You can go to gnccracing.com to get the YouTube link to watch the preview that's already out for that documentary. It's going to be great. I can't wait. Right on. That's it for this segment. We're going to move right into Gear Up.
Yeah, that was a lot of news for the month. So yeah, let's gear up with some new products. All right, it's time to get geared up for July of 2025. Here are some new products, or not so new products hitting the market that might be of interest to ATV enthusiasts or utility. Jeff, what do we got?
Yeah, we got some new line of goggles. Not actually a new line of goggles, a new design from Rebel Optics. I've been running their goggles this year in the Work Series and everywhere else. Very comfortable goggle. They got a couple of big pro names. I think they got a Supercrosser who's actually wearing their goggles now too. But that's a two-wheel guy. They actually released, I'm going to show it to you here. This is a new colorway. You can see the side here with a blue lens. This is called the Victory Goggle, and this is actually a tribute to the original Honda TRX 250R. This design was put together by Sam over at Dirt Fiend Racing, DFR. You know, Sam is a guy that designs those incredible DFR graphics kits you see on a lot of these sport quads. This goggle is just super cool. And the fact that it's, designed as a tribute to the beloved TRX 250R. Who doesn't like that ATV? It's probably, I still consider it the king of sport quads. That's just me, but I know that's a popular opinion. Glad to see that. And we got the exclusive on this, and I got the first pair, so I can't wait to show them off.
No bragging. Yeah, those goggles would look they look good with any 80s Honda, whether
Yeah.
it's a 200X, 350X, 250R three-wheeler. That would be a
A
clean look.
vintage Elsinore two-wheeler. Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
No. If you got a Honda with some red, white, and blue, that looks sweet.
Yeah, and I should say these are also kind of modular too, where there's some switches on the side here where you can change out the lens really quickly. They're very modular. You can change out the foam. Everything comes apart, and you can replace individual pieces, including the strap. I think they have like 38 or 39 other designs that you can choose from also. They retail for $84.99. RebelOpticsLLC.com. You can check out all those designs and order online. So
very sweet.
Another thing I got that we're testing out, and I've tested several of these tires now, ITP hole shots. God, they just, you don't seem to hear about these tires as much as we used to. You remember back in the 80s and 90s, man, ITP hole shots were the tire to have. Maybe the most recognized tire before that was the Turf Tamer?
Sure. I mean, that H block off of the hole shot is, and I'm not the first person to say this, so I'm not bagging on anybody else's tires, but that H block tread pattern is one of the most copied, or I'll add modified tread patterns on the market, because look at how many tires today are running that H block tread pattern still.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody, every time I see those tires, it makes me think of the original hole shot.
Which they still have, right?
Yeah. And they have 7 or 8 different versions of them. I just got through testing the HDs, which is a much heavier tire. We run them here in the desert when we're out, hitting rocks and stuff, especially out here in Arizona. There's a lot of rocks, a lot of rough terrain. That's a great choice for that heavier tire. But I just picked up a set of the new Hole Shot XCs, which I want to try out at the next Works round. I'm not sure if I'm going to Idaho yet, but we'll definitely try them out at the next Glen Helen race. I'm very excited to try those out. I got them in a 21 front and a 20 rear, which will be perfect for that race, but you can get them in like 22 front sizing. There's a whole bunch of different sizing. Check them out. It's itptires.com. You can see all the different hole shots that you can choose from. Another thing I'll add to that is the ITP sand tires, the Sand Stars for you guys that like to ride dunes. They still have those too. For whatever reason, they don't have the rear paddles on their website, but they do still have those in various sizes. Great tires for guys that like to get out in the dunes and ride forever. I got a set of those too, by the way. So I'm already looking forward to dune season.
And you were telling me the other day that that's more of a cruising tire, like for the guy who likes to go explore, carve bowls. It's not a hill shooter tire as much as it is a get out and just sport ride in the dunes with your buddies and cover miles, right?
Yeah, they got a V paddle, so they turn much easier. They are just, you don't have to fight your machine as much as you would with a straight paddle. It's perfect for the real dooner that likes to get out there and ride for hours at a time until his gas runs out, head back to camp, refuel, and get right back out there. They turn great. Just an incredible, a very good paddle for Glamis riders, Oregon riders, anywhere you ride sand dunes. Absolutely.
Right on. Yeah, sounds like if you're a sand rider and you're looking for a good do-it-all tire, that would be a great place to start.
Yeah. Let's talk about Duncan Racing Stage 1 kit.
Well, a Duncan Racing Stage 1 kit. Now, this isn't a new product, but they have them and just spread a little bit of awareness because Duncan builds a lot of good stuff. They've won a lot of championships. They're reputable. Their Stage 1 kit includes their Fat Boy 4 exhaust, which have a reputation for being very well built, very long-lasting exhaust. They're not disposable. They also come with, if you have a carbureted machine, they come with a jet kit. Obviously, if you have a fuel-injected machine, they come with a Vortex. That will add significantly to the cost of the kit because a Vortex ECU is an ECU, and it's quite a bit more expensive than a jet kit. Now, for the fuel-injected guys that are out there, we can tell you through our own personal testing. I'm sure Jeff can tell you from his personal testing, going from just a piggyback fuel controller to a new ECU makes very noticeable difference in the way the bike performs. The throttle response is far more crisp. There's, you can get rid of most of the hesitation in like a YFZ 450R with a fuel controller, but it's not the same. Like it eliminates that. It's so crisp all the way through the RPMs. If you're only going to do the big three, having that Vortex is really different. It's different in a good way. They also come with a Pro Design intake kit that goes inside of your OEM airbox. So Pro Design I use one of their ProFlow kits on my old Banshee, and it's got a big built aluminum flange, bolts to the inside of the airbox, seals to it, big dual stage filter, large capacity filter, flows a lot of air. And with their kits, you can get that in either the dual stage foam or with a K&N filter. Opinions vary. I think Jeff and I would agree, though, unless you're just purely riding the dunes where there's no silt, no dust that floats in the air, just stick to a foam filter. You know, you might give up a horsepower or two. Over the life of that motor, you're going to have a whole lot more horsepower for a lot longer because you're not going to get as much dirt in the engine. So a Pro Design ProFlow kit with a foam filter is a great way to protect your motor and get a little more air to it.
Yeah, this is actually the kit that I have on the YFZ 450R that I race. Like I've said a million times, I'm 58 now. I can't handle that, engine work and all that stuff as much like I used to. But this is a great kit that gives you big power gains from top to bottom. I do use a foam filter. I love the Vortex ignition. It has 10 different settings on it. It gets you out of those flat spots and those hesitation spots where these new machines come from the factory because of CARB and EPA standards. They are very lean from the factory. This helps, alleviate a little bit of that and make it actually run a little bit better. What else we got?
You tell me.
Yeah, I will tell you. Fastco Flex Bars. This is not a new product to the market. If you don't know about the Flex Bars, they have these elastomers that you can use. It's kind of like suspension in your handlebars. It deadens a lot of the engine vibration you might get, the hard hits you get from rocks or landings. It's suspension for your arms. What is new is they just released a new taller bin for ATV racers. Logan Huff actually sent me a set of these bars. Logan was working for Fastco there for a while. I got to try them out at the last round, and I'm 6 foot tall, a bigger guy, much more comfortable. If you're somebody that thinks you got to buy a new steering stem with anti-vibe and all that stuff, these bars kind of do all of that for you. They'll get you a little bit, taller guys, a little more comfortable position. They have the anti-vibe built into them, so you don't have to go right to the stem and bars and everything else. These are a great upgrade. I think they're around $397 for a pair. It's money well spent for comfort, especially if you spend a lot of hours in the seat and are a racer. So
I've used them. We like them.
Yeah, I've used them on everything I got, including my dirt bikes. Love them. They just make you more comfortable and give you a little added endurance to go a few extra miles on whether you're racing or out there on the trails. So I think that's it for the new products for this episode.
Well, yeah. So if your company has a new product, we just want to remind you, make sure that you get them on the show. The ATV industry is kind of ignored. The ATV enthusiasts are kind of being ignored right now, and we don't like that. So if you've got a new product that's coming out for the ATV industry, whether it's sport or sport utility, 4x4 stuff, make sure you get your products on the show. You can drop us a line at quad-cast.com. You can send an email to us right there, and we'll get a hold of you and get your products on the show. So that's it for Gear Up for this month, right?
Yeah, let's move on to our special guest.
Yes, let's do it.
We're going to be talking to Pete Hager. I've been looking forward to this a while because we're all going to get to talk sport quads. It's the one thing that we love to talk about the most. I don't think Pete needs a big introduction, but we're going to do it anyway. Let's get into it.
Let's do it. All right, so it's time for our special guest segment. Joining us today is the person that most of us would credit with starting the hashtag SaveSportQuads movement. He is a YouTube channel owner, creator. He has amassed over 276 videos and over 168,000 sport ATV subscribers at a time that the major OEMs tell us that there's no real interest in sport quads, and I think we believe his numbers prove otherwise. Joining us today is Mr. Pete Hager. Pete, how are you?
Welcome, Pete.
I am excellent. Thank you guys for having me today. I'm very privileged to be a guest on your guys' new podcast, and I'm stoked to hopefully talk about sport quads.
No, we're glad to have you for sure.
Yeah, glad to have you. And that is our favorite subject. So that's why you're here.
Thank you.
And I also want to go ahead and say I appreciate that hashtag. You know that I steal it quite often.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never
Very
claimed ownership over that. And I guess I've talked to you about it, Joe, that if you scroll to the bottom of the Instagram hashtag feed, and I looked the other day, I think there was 25,000 uses of that hashtag. I guess if you somehow get to the bottom, when I did it years ago, I had the first post with it. So it was just off the cuff on a random video about 6 months into my YouTube career, I guess you could say, and it just kind of stuck. Just had a good ring to it, and I started putting it on every post. And here we are, over 5 years later, and it's kind of well known within the community, which is pretty cool.
Very, very cool. Yeah, we all credit you with starting that movement, and we use it frequently.
As we should, right?
Exactly. That's what we're all about here.
So, Pete, we'd like to get to know you a little bit. Where were you initially from, and what led you into this sport?
I am from Mankato, Minnesota. I still live here. This is a pretty awesome place for me to call home. The first introductions to the sport were I actually grew up wanting a dirt bike, as funny as that is. And I crashed a friend's dirt bike a couple times and road rashed myself a few times. And just throughout that experience of being exposed to dirt bikes, I guess I should say I was born in 90, I'm 35. And here in the early 2000s, I got exposed to sport quads through watching Weibos videos. And I think my first Weibos video was probably 5 or 6. And I just all of a sudden was kind of shocked at how much more fun it was to watch an ATV being ridden than a dirt bike. I guess I just wasn't really exposed to it at the time. And I was part of that generation that didn't grow up with the internet. And my only real exposure to it after kind of getting that initial exposure was actually looking at Dirt Wheels magazines, which I used to totally cut up into pieces. I would actually cut out like silhouettes of the ATVs, and I have my whole wall plastered with them. I wish I could find these photos of my old bedroom, but I had my wall was just caked with sport quads as a teenager. So I guess the lengthy answer was probably in my early teens, got exposed to it and pretty much just always loved it ever since then. I love power sliding, and I just like riding ATVs. I guess I have the bug like the rest of us. So I can ram.
It's seeing you younger guys, and I say that as a 58-year-old, but it is nice to see somebody that's below Gen X that really thrives and loves sport quads, three-wheelers, all that stuff. It gives us hope that this whole Save Sport Quad movement is going to keep moving. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And, the Save Sport Quad thing is, I guess it was interesting when I got back into riding in the fall of 2019 was when I got my Raptor. I had kind of a hiatus. I guess I don't know if you guys want to talk more about the history of my ATVs. I guess I can explain that. So the first ATV that was mine to ride was my dad got a Polaris Magnum 325 in like 2002 or 2003. It was silver. He still has it. He still does yard work with it. And you can imagine like a 325cc Sportsman, like about as minimal as it gets on the Sportsman lineup, even though it was a Magnum model. I grew up riding that for the first few years. And then when I was about 15 or so, actually I was about 14, after a few years in the Magnum, my dad surprised me, and I'm super grateful. I still remember I woke up one morning and he was riding a 2004 Scrambler around the house, a Scrambler 500. And I've been bugging about a sport ATV. I wanted to get one. The Magnum obviously was pretty limited on what it could do. The Scrambler was scary. It was fast. It was fun. And I rode that thing like crazy for a few years. I broke the frame in at multiple spots, had a farmer welding it back together for me and putting gussets on it and just pounded the thing. It was really fun, but I needed a pure sport ATV. And when I graduated high school in 2008, which was kind of the heyday for all this, actually, my local dealership had a new KTM 525 that was sitting there. And I was stuck. I was stuck here. Here I was back in the early 2000s, and I'm like, do I get a Raptor or a YFC? Like the biggest question in the history of buying a sport quad.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the KTM 525 comes out, and I'm like, that thing is cool. It's like a 450, but it's got like a bigger motor in it. And the main riding I was doing at the time was ditch riding, which is unique to our region. We have big agricultural land here in the southern quarter of the state, or the southern third of the state. And we can ride the ditches during certain times of the year. And it's really high speed riding. I mean, it's just big grass ditch riding. And I've got a lot of content doing that. That's pretty fun to watch on the channel. But the Raptor is kind of the king of ditch riding. And I got the KTM. It was super fun, but they don't last very long. The motors, unfortunately, aren't very reliable. So it was kind of like an annual rebuild for that machine for a few years. And unfortunately, I just couldn't afford to maintain it anymore. And that's kind of what ended me riding sport quads for a while until I got back into riding on in 2019. Oh, it was the fall of 2018. I got the Raptor. I finally got my Raptor. Had wanted one for a long time. Decided to go for it. The new GoPro Hero 7 came out. It had stabilized tech in it for the first time. And I kind of just started documenting my rides, and things took off quickly. And I'll just ramble and ramble if you guys don't stop me. So I should probably stop.
Well, with all that exposure to sport quads and stuff, since then, have you ever tried racing?
I did a couple fair races on the KTM. You know, racing costs a lot of money. I definitely have been more of just a rec rider. I used to actually, when I had the KTM, we had a local guy that let us ride his property and hit a really cool track. There's some old videos on my channel of me riding the KTM if you dig back there. But we rode this track all the time and just go out there and just lap after lap after lap. And actually had gotten fairly conditioned to do quite a few laps on a track back then. But the couple races I did, you know, I would rather, I think, do some XC racing. I just dabbled in, like fair racing, like a little supercross track, I guess you could say. So yeah, kind of a fun exposure to it. Off topic racing. I grew up downhill ski racing. I did that for 8 years and was very focused on that for a very long time. I kind of had to choose when I was younger between racing ATVs and ski racing. Ski racing was just really important to me. I was fortunate to be pretty good at it and had a lot of fun doing it. And it was just time for me to be done with that. And then I did some mountain bike racing in my 20s. That was really fun. And I have plans to do some ATV racing. And I was telling Joe last time we talked that I'm going to kind of gear up for hopefully like a full season of it. But we just had a baby. Maybe next year, maybe the year after.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I'm only getting older, but I have the most important thing, and that is my wife's blessing. And she tells me I'm only getting older. So she's pushing me that if I want to do a season of racing, that I should do it. And I'm gonna put a lot into it when I finally do. I'm very eager, but I think the time will come at the right time. I've been waiting until I'm a little bit older, so hopefully I'm a little more responsible while racing. I don't need to wrap myself around a tree. So I guess that's going to happen someday. I really want to. I definitely have fun with that.
Yeah. Hey, so getting back to the media part, I mean, did you, is it something you just kind of stumbled on, or did you have a plan for all of this, or was it like kind of as you were going along, you put this whole thing together? Did you see this?
Yeah, we have like a couple hours, right? This is going to take a while to talk. I'm just kidding. So one thing that a lot of people don't know is I did a lot of video editing stuff in high school. And I actually made my own kind of Wavos style edits back then. And some of those are on the channel if you go way back. I made the channel in like, I think 2014 or something. Or no, it wasn't 2014. It was before that. It's on there. I guess you'd have to look. It's old. But anyways, I did video editing stuff in school, and that kind of got my feet wet as far as, it's pretty intimidating for people. Through doing what I've done in the last few years, I've obviously had countless people ask me for advice on editing and what it takes to get into it. What do they need? And I just tell people that you need to go into it with an open mindset and have fun. But I definitely it was very beneficial for me to have taken those classes in high school and to have just at least gotten a foundation of editing with them. Because when I started making videos again, when I got my Raptor, and that was like 10 years later, I really had a good foundation of technique behind what I wanted to kind of do. But this whole genre didn't exist yet. I'm trying to think of how this all went down. I used to watch a lot of like bike vlogging videos of guys mountain biking and traveling and riding bike trips. And then when I quit mountain bike racing and got into quads again, I was like, oh, I'm going to watch guys ride quads and travel and do that. And there really wasn't anything like that. And then I stumbled upon some guys riding street bikes that had mics in their helmets, and they were talking and riding. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I could get a microphone in my helmet and get that new GoPro that has the stabilizer built into it, and put two and two together, started making videos in the fall of 19, just for my own enjoyment. I've always said selfishly that I've made all these videos so that I could hopefully show my kids someday that I wasn't a slouch. So that isn't the main goal, but that was just, a goofy reason that's kind of, it's fun to go back and watch this stuff. I already am watching stuff now that I watch my footage that I won't even ride like that anymore. Just, being 35 now compared to 30, I'm riding a bit more conservative now. So as far as the plan, there really hasn't been a plan. Every year of this whole thing has been different. I first kind of committed to it, I guess, on a career level. I was driving forklift at the time when I bought my Raptor, and it was just kind of time for me to leave my job. And I had a little bit of money saved. So I just decided to kind of chill for a month. And around the same time as when I got the Raptor, the new GoPro comes out. I decided to get a mic in my helmet and try talking and riding and start putting these together. as far as me having a plan, I knew what kind of content I wanted to make and I knew what I was looking for, but I couldn't find that content. I used to tell people all the time, if you're looking for something online and you can't find it and you can make it, there's an opportunity somebody else, is probably looking for that same stuff as well. So here, I just kind of started making these sport ATV videos, but the vlogging aspect of it was totally new. That wasn't something that the industry maybe had really even seen much of. I didn't really know that at the time. I just knew that it was important to put my face on the camera. I knew it was important to talk. You can go online and look for riding footage, and a lot of it's just shaky helmet cam. And thankfully, with all the new GoPros now, it's not so shaky anymore. But there's this weird combination of personality, me trying to get artistic with it, and have some other camera angles. I kind of just view each video as kind of it's like a pizza, and the more ingredients I have for it, the better. So if we can get some drone footage and maybe get some slow motion, some bumper cam, some helmet cam, some ground shots, and then combine it all together, some rides turn out better than others. But yeah, I guess that was just the recipe, and I just went for it. And yeah, I had committed to a video a week starting in January of 2019, pretty much. I had some early viral content that took off that just really surprised me, big time. My channel was made a long time ago, but here around that time, I had 2,000 or 3,000 really old subscribers from a decade prior. And by that spring of 2019, about 6 months later, I'd hit about 30,000 followers. I want to say, I think we had maybe hit 50,000 that fall. And I was just feeding it, just riding the wave. I just thought it was so cool. It was so fun to see all the enthusiasm. And then after that first year, I guess the plan long term, it's funny how early on it's I'm gonna just do this forever. I'm gonna just make a video a week for my career till I retire. It's man, is that a lot of work? The videos got bigger. I had nobody to ride with when I started. A lot of them are kind of solo in the early videos because it's not like there's a lot of people riding sport quads around here. So as I started to gain more local friends, the rides got bigger. There was more people. It's hard to be creative in a big group, but it changed the style of the content. And I really enjoyed. I started to keep the camera on all the time. I used to just turn it on when I thought something cool would maybe happen. Then I started recording constantly and trying to capture a lot of that candid conversation, or we call it quad talk, on the trail. And just unfortunately, not all of it is age appropriate. And that brings me to another thing: is I very early on knew that I needed to have the content be clean. There was a lot of, I worked for a big corporate company, ConAgra Foods was who I was working for. And the amount of background screening they would do, I just knew that if I had a chance at getting any type of sponsorship, endorsement, or doing anything with a big brand someday, that it would only help my case if the content was clean. So as far as a plan, that's about one of the only plans I had, or at least I knew early on. And then as soon as I started, early on, I got messages from parents telling me they liked watching my videos with their kids, and they would say thank you for keeping the content clean because they could watch with their kids. And I don't know, I started to really see the value in that, and that's kind of I wanted it to be inclusive because I learned pretty quickly after getting the Raptor that the industry wasn't the same anymore. And I literally ordered the quad and went to Pro Armor's website right away to order a bunch of Pro Armor stuff. Well, there was none of that. I was just what do I do now? It was so funny to kind of to leave the sport and come back. I left while it all kind of went away. And I left at almost a high point and then came back to it, thought it was kind of same old, and it wasn't at all. And I don't know, I'm just kind of just rambling here, but that was essentially the first couple.
Well, you brought up 2008 when you got your KTM, and man, the writing was on the wall at that point. And by 2010, man, it just all collapsed. And that's when I actually bowed out of this and came back in around COVID. The interesting part to you that reminded me, working with GoPro, before GoPro, the stuff that we would do to get helmet cam footage, I'd have a backpack on with 5 cables running out of it to stuff all over my helmet. And I had forgotten how much easier it is today, working with all this technology. And even the new technology that's coming in today, just the technology we're using to put this podcast together is amazing. It takes a lot of the time and post edit out of it. What are some of your biggest challenges you've faced as a content creator?
The first big thing was trying to, and once again, this isn't all about money, but the more money I made, the more I could put into it. Pretty much every dollar that's been beyond me paying my bills has been reinvested into this the entire time. I haven't done like oh wow, we had an epic month, I'm gonna go on a big trip and go skiing, you know, like I haven't done anything like that. So obviously a hurdle was to get more money. So I wanted to buy more parts, I wanted to get more machines, I wanted to go more places. My circle of riding areas started to get further away from me. All of a sudden I had kind of done all the parks within about 3-4 hours from me. And now it's like, man, if I want to go to another new place and ride, which my favorite thing to do is probably ride new places. Obviously, I'm going to travel. I like to stay in a hotel. I want to take a shower at the end of the day. So, yeah, I guess that was a big hurdle. The hard part was there's no money in advertising. I shouldn't say there isn't any, but it's you have to really make a case. And it was hard for me at the time because it was like, 2019. Being an influencer wasn't really what it was, even just 5 years later now. I would call some of these older brands in our industry and say like, "Hey, can I get your part for free in exchange for making a shout out in a video or doing like a promo?" And they didn't want anything to do with it. And it's like, man, I can't even get like a free bumper. And here I had reach of like anywhere from 50 to 100K. I was on the algorithm for a long time, getting pretty big views early on. And it was a totally untapped market to some of these brands because a lot of these brands are really racing focused and they have a lot of racing clients, but the rec audience is huge. So me trying to convey the value of my content being sport ATV focused, but to all recreational riders, it was kind of like a whole new market some of these really racing focused brands could get in front of. And I couldn't make that happen. They just could not get on board. And I'm not going to pick on anybody or anything. I totally get it. But, you know, I guess I should say it's hard to be an influencer and want to maybe talk about things when there isn't a lot of new stuff happening. I do my own research and I find my own parts, and a lot of the parts we buy, some of them are just cosmetic. The reason we buy them, it's not even like it's the best of something, but we just liked how it looked, and I just kind of always bought the things that I liked and promoted the brands I like to promote. I like to make sure that I let people know that there's other options. It's not like it's one size or one brand for everyone. So just trying to create content from an industry that's stagnant is kind of hard. So a lot of my stuff is entertainment. It's not always informative because it's kind of the same old, unfortunately. And that brings us to some future talk that I'm super excited for some new stuff to hopefully happen, because I would love to promote a new four-wheeler. Like, I've never done that. Here I've been doing this for 5 years and there's never been a new ATV that's like, check out this new thing. I've never been able to do that. So that would be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully we're going to see more and more of that coming down. We obviously did that on episode 1 with a new sport quad finally. We see some possibilities coming up in the future, so hopefully that continues. Based on, is that my dog?
Yeah, Pete's hip to the new KO 300. So Pete, when you were talking about, you were obviously talking about how much the expense, the time that goes into doing this. So, anybody who wants to start a YouTube channel or be involved in that space, it's if you think you're going to make a living and make decent content and you're going to do it on YouTube revenue, you better be talking politics and get popular so you have something to do 5 videos on every day. So was part of making it all work, is that what led to you starting your online store? Because you're not just a YouTube creator, you also own an online parts store. So was it, did you create PeteHager.com to
make extra
what
money
you're doing? Yeah.
Yes. So, and it all just started because, that's every content creator that kind of gets a footing. The first thing you do is make a shirt and sell merch, and that's everybody starts asking for it. Some of the early comments are like, "Hey, we need merch." So all of a sudden it's like, "Oh wow, I got to figure that out." And that also does go back to me talking about how there was really no money in advertising. I couldn't hit up a brand and say I want $1,000 to promote your thing, even though the reach was totally worth that. It wasn't there. So that's what prompted me to initially become a drop shipper for some of these brands and just start telling the followers that if they wanted to help support this, they could buy on my website. And it's just been me kind of adapting to this the whole time. Like, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, like every year of this has been a different ride, I guess you could say. From its early beginnings, which were so kind of innocent and just kind of winging it constantly, just having fun, to the content getting more complicated, to trying to get more brands on board and trying to get stuff to sell on my website. It's been slow and steady, and I like that. I've never wanted anything to just like explode overnight. Like, it sounds terrifying to just like, I guess my brother reality checked me the other day. He's like, what if we got like 40 orders for something in like one day? It's like, I don't know. I mean, some of these companies might only make 40 of those in a month. Like, what are we, it's just, it's interesting to think of the industry. And now I'm to the point where drop shipping was what started the online website selling parts, but now I want to start stocking parts. And I've actually grown to really have a lot of fun selling the parts. I enjoy talking to the customers. It's fun to talk to people that are kind of struggling to get some basic answers, and sometimes the online, I guess Facebook is kind of the main go-to for groups now, is where people are getting a lot of info. Forums are a bit quiet, or at least I'm not up on forums, and I think a lot of younger people aren't on forums anymore. Yeah, I guess just it's really rewarding to help people, to help them get their stuff, and that's just a whole new angle on this. And that's kind of what has pulled me away from making videos as much as I was. And then we had our baby in February. His name is Wyatt. He is super fun, and it's just been a different year, but just kind of once again riding the wave. And I don't know where the website's going to go. My goal for it is to just try to keep improving it, just to try to make it easier to navigate. There's always work to do. You could work nonstop all day, every day. Just kind of chip away at it. And I'm thinking about some other brands I want to have involved. And I guess I just want to support those brands as much as they have supported me. And if I had, I guess on a financial level, if someone's thinking about it, I mean, I had moments where we had really good views early on. And I was actually kind of perfect place, perfect time with COVID too. There was such a surge. I mean, we saw the used market explode when COVID happened. All of a sudden, well, what happened to Banshees? They were $1,500, $2,000. Well, now we're stuck with $10,000 Banshees. That's fun. So that's the only thing that's
15,000 even.
Yes, but then like I mean, even just like 2021, and 22, quads were crazy expensive. It was super fun. It was crazy to kind of be in the hot seat when there was a lot of interest in it. Things kind of plateaued, and I guess I had to pivot. But you kind of just do that naturally with any business, I would assume. I mean, I can't. I have to make ends meet. So this wouldn't have existed if I had been greedy early on. I've been very conservative this whole time. And I think if anybody wanted to go down this path, it's totally obtainable. I used to tell people all the time, we need more people like me in the space. I've never viewed it as a competition. I've never viewed it as there's only room for one. We're all different. Some people may not like that I talk as much as I do when I ride. Well, there's other creators that don't talk as much at all. So it's like, I think that it's never too late. I think we could use more people. I always tell people that ask me about content creation, I say, the more sport quad content we can get, the better. We just need it to be seen by people. Just before I forget, one cool thing too that's been more of a eye opener for me is I've been getting messages now. Here, I've been doing this for 5 years. I got messages from kids that are like 10 or 11 or 12 that said they watched videos when they were like 5 or 6 or 7, and they used to ride around and like think about doing the cool stuff that Pete was doing. And like it's really wholesome to get some of these messages, and it just hits home because these are the future gen. These are the guys that are going against the odds and hopefully won't want to side by side and will want to ride a quad. And
Amen
that
to
to me
that.
is so it's so priceless. It is just like the best thing to know that I could have that kind of a impact for somebody. And that's kind of been remotivating for me to get back on the horse and try to get the content going, because there are a lot of people that it was important to, and I'm very grateful for them. And I don't want to just be gone forever. I'm gonna keep making stuff.
Yeah, it is kind of cool that you brought up the youth part of it, because I go to the tracks quite a bit, and even in racing, we're seeing the youth level classes are actually seem to be growing, which is
Super
very
important.
promising. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, so we kind of came up to date up to now, what you've been up to and stuff. Let's talk a little bit about sport quads.
Yes.
And and we'll get all three of us involved in this. First off, you got a favorite sport quad of all time?
It's really funny that you say that, because it's sitting right there.
Sitting right-
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. This has not been shared publicly. This is a 2005 Troy Lee Predator, and obviously I was 15. I was born in 90 when these came out, and my favorite color is orange. Just happened to, for some reason, I just love orange, and like the KTM being orange, it was just a coincidence. But this dropped on Vintage Awesomeness this spring. This quad did. And the first asking price for it was nuts, but it's very clean. It's a nice one owner quad, and I just had to grab it. So I like it because it's orange. I think the Predator looks cool. I haven't really driven it yet. I've been waiting to ride a nice Predator if I could find one, but I haven't ridden with anybody that has one. And as a lot of my followers know, I like to quad swap with people and ride machines I haven't ridden when I get a chance. But I try to find nice stock examples of those quads when I do it, because I want to really get a good impression of what that ATV was like, how it came. I don't want to ride a Predator that's been all decked out and totally different from how they came. So I'm going to make a bunch of content with this, kind of doing that first experience, but I just like these. I think they're cool. So that's I called it a poster quad. I said to Joe on a text, he was like, what is a poster quad? Well, being a poster car, this is my Ferrari F40 of sport quads. I love the car, everybody. It's a great machine. But for some reason, I think
That's my number
think this
one.
one's cool. So yeah, my favorite sport quad to ride is this one. And the Raptor is just, it suits my needs. I'm a trail rider. I'm a free rider. I love the dunes. I tell people the 450s are so fun, but they like to be ridden hard. And when you just go play ride and when you go new places, you aren't riding hard. You're riding in a manner that's going to keep you alive and in one piece. If you start riding off the rails on a 450 and you don't know what's around the corner, bad things are going to happen. And when you ride those slow, they don't really like it. So yeah, the Raptor has been the ultimate tool for me. It's the most reliable thing. It can go high speed all day long. It's just a great quad. And at the end of the day, when we go riding, we want to ride. And the ultimate worst thing to happen is you're stoked to ride Saturday morning and your machine won't turn on or there's a problem with it. And in my mind, the Raptor is one of the most reliable quads that will guarantee that you're going to get out and ride on the trail.
Yeah, it's interesting. Even back in the day when we had more big bore sport quads, we had 5 of them, 5 or 6 at one time to choose from. I'm thinking Honda 700XX, the Raptor, KTM 525, Honda 700XX, 525S Polaris, and 525 IRS. I guess there's 6 there. The Raptor was always at the top or the top machine in all of those shootouts. And it's still, I think, in the Raptor, even to this day, or even when that was going on, it was the best selling sport quad of all time. And I think it remains in that top position, which today there's only two big sport quads anyway, so that makes sense. But, well, hey, Joe, what is your favorite sport quad of all time? I just said mine is a 250R. I'm old. I feel like everything mimicked. That's where it all came from. What do you think, Joe?
We didn't plan this ahead of time, and we're not fishing for Yamaha sponsorship, but I think it's a clean sweep for the Raptor, because to me, I don't know of a better machine universally for more people. If I'm not saying a Raptor 700 is the ideal beginner machine, but like Pete was saying, the power is very forgiving. If you understand, like, okay, I can get hurt and I can crash, and you go out there and you cautiously approach things, you're a grown up with some sense, you can ride a Raptor 700 and you can be okay. Go out in the field, get used to the clutch. And then on the other side of it, so I think it's a very forgiving big bore single, but on the other side, there's so much you can do with it. I mean, if you want to build a hill shooter, you can make insane horsepower with it. You can build a monster of that motor and keep it very reliable. If you want to keep it tight, because you have some trails that are tighter where side-by-sides haven't found, it's great in stock form. You can turn it into a 50-inch wide machine, long travel. How far do you want to go with it? So I think it's a bike that's got universal appeal for people from beginner to advanced, and it's hard to beat.
I'm sticking with my 250R. Okay.
Wait.
You said clean sweep. It wasn't a clean sweep. I'm outnumbered here on that, but
I thought you were casting your vote for the Raptor.
I like I have an 87 out in the garage right now.
I don't want to derail us here, but the IRS quads, I've ridden one 525 IRS one time for 15 minutes, and it was kind of weird. The trail was fairly bumpy, but I think it would be really cool to ride it in really rough terrain. But I guess I just always think to myself, I really wish that the recession might have been another year or two later. I feel like we would have maybe seen a little more with the IRS quads, or at least we would have had a few more of them produced. It'd be cool if they were a little easier to come by. And I think I've heard that keeping them running is a bit hard these days. If your rear end is clapped on one of those, I don't know what's all out there for OEM stuff. But those are that's one machine, I guess, like whether it be an Outlaw, I guess everybody says those Hondas are kind of heavy, but I definitely would like to have one of those someday. I think it'd be really cool. You guys have had more experience with them than I have. I really haven't had the opportunity. So I don't know what you think about the IRS machine. Well, if there was a market, or if it was a gimmick, Let
me take over this part, because it's a good segue into our next question to follow that one up. Is what is your what do you think is the most underrated ATV sport quad that's out there that doesn't get enough respect? And you want me to go ahead and start off while you think
Yeah.
about this?
Yeah.
Mine is the Polaris Outlaw 525 IRS.
Really?
I spent a lot of time on that, did a lot of riding on it, raced one at the Parker 400. We had one that was set up with long travel. It was the best whoop killing machine I had ever been on in my life. Take them out to the dunes. Even when I go out to the dunes today, and I'll be out there on my YFZ, the way, if you go out to Glamis and you got the big bowls in the bottoms with all the side-by-sides out there just digging these ruts, that are 2 foot deep, that I missed that 525 IRS. But even back then with the sand rails, if there was all rutted up on a busy weekend, I'd be on that 525 IRS. I could just hammer the gas and it just glided right through that stuff, which just blows my mind. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on the Honda 700X too. It didn't turn as well as that Polaris. And I took the Polaris, I raced it at a GP. I felt like I could corner it it cornered much more like a straight axle machine than it did the IRS, whereas the Honda 700XX was more of a desert machine and just didn't corner quite as well. But yeah, that's my pick for the most underrated sport quad, would be that Polaris 525 IRS. So it's cool that you brought that up.
Yeah. No,
Joe,
I think that's super
let's go to
interesting.
Joe. Let's go to Joe.
Okay.
Joe, what's your underrated sport quad?
Well, you already know what I'll say, and I'm gonna go with the Blaster, of course, the Blaster, because they're very affordable still. It's the most affordable two-stroke you can buy. Whether you're slightly modifying it or doing a full build, like every level of performance modification adds a level of satisfaction. You're like, yeah, this just made this bike even more cool. And it's such a featherweight little machine. Even if you go all the way and you 240 kit it and big long swing arm, longer A arms, aftermarket, it still feels just featherweight in the air with a bunch more horsepower, and you can't start with anything cheaper, probably in better condition. So Blaster for me.
All right, Pete, you're up. Although I'm assuming it might be one of those behind you that we just talked about.
No. Well, these are all great quads. The other one over here is the Bug Eye, which every person in the community that has been around the block is a big fan of that quad.
Yeah.
The Kawasaki Lakota is what won our Top Quad series, Top Quad 3, and that machine. I was telling Joe the other day. It was just such a surprise for everybody there. And obviously it won the competition because we had our goofy little games that we did. And it kind of was the most well-rounded thing. And it caught us all by surprise because there was a Blaster there, and the Blaster, I think, got second. And we thought the Blaster would be the pick that we all would like. But we had the most fun riding that cow. And it was just this like stout, I called it like a bulldog or like a pit bull, just like this hardy thing that just like, it felt like it was like indestructible and you could just go pound it, but it didn't beat you up like you thought it would just looking at it. Like you look at it and you're like, man, this is kind of a goofy little 4x4 looking kind of thing. And I just being an auto clutch, us playing on it the way we did, we were kind of fighting over it at times. Like who gets to ride it? Like someone else pulled the key first thing. I don't get that one. So I think that caught everybody off guard, that we had a lot of fun on that. And I would totally have one of those someday. Like it was like an arm
You
tank.
caught me off guard. Off guard. I wasn't expecting that answer.
Well, just on like
That's cool though.
I don't know. Here we had 5-6 of us together, and we're all taking turns on quads, and we probably all had the most fun on that thing, and that's pretty crazy. So maybe the market will go up now. Who knows?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We've already talked about Blasters, and we've talked about the Predator. These are two machines that I see a lot more people commenting about over at Dirt Wheels. They're coming into their own as a vintage favorite. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, the Blasters, man. I see them for $1,500 on Marketplace, and they're sitting on there. People aren't buying them for that much. Like you can get into a very capable quad for about $1,000. If you're tall, you really don't fit on there. But if you're medium, small, you got 6 gears. Like the thing is a riot. It's a very fun. I would say the Blaster is definitely a good pick for sure.
So Pete, let me ask you. You've got 276 videos, unless you uploaded since I looked 40 minutes ago.
No.
So of all the stuff you've done, I'm sure a lot of the people listening know who you are, but for those who don't, or maybe haven't seen all of your work or any of your work, what are some of your favorite videos that you've done that you would recommend a new Pete Hager viewer go check out?
My favorite videos, I call them a dual moto vlog. When I put a GoPro and a mic on another friend, and then I edit all the footage into one video and I bounce it between both our perspectives. Those videos work really good when it's just me and one other person, because then there's no third person that's kind of out of the mix, and it's very easy to follow with if I'm bouncing back and forth. Everybody kind of knows there's just two people here. I'm trying to think of the rides I've done that with. Those projects are very hard. Like, I pretty much edit 2 entire rides and then I combine it all at once. So I'd say most of those videos I've made that were huge, if we ride 3 hours that day, I've got 6 hours of helmet cam at least from both people, or total. So just to comb that down to 40 minutes can take me 50 hours sometimes of editing. I've had a few of those videos take me up to like three weeks of chipping away at them. So the most recent one I did was I think it was called High Speeds on the Round River Trail with my friend Ian. He has a channel called the Square One Speed Channel. And that was just like a really fun day where we just went to a place we had never been. We did like a 40-mile loop. Cameras were rolling the whole time. We staged flybys a few times. I flew the drone when we got there, but it's all up in the North Woods and all you see are pine trees. So it's not that scenic from the air. But I guess that's just one ride that stuck out in the last, year or so, that I was really proud of that project because I worked hard on it. And I looked recently and it's got over 100,000 views now. And
Wow.
it's crazy when you upload a video, sometimes they'll just kind of, they'll get their first wave and then they'll stall. And I've had videos do that, and then all of a sudden a year or two later they'll take off and they'll get a bunch of views. And that brings me to another thing I tell people is, if you make, in my opinion, if you make good content, it should surface eventually. It should find the light of day. You get what you put into it. And if you put a lot into it, I don't believe that it's going to just stay buried forever. And if it is, then maybe you need to share it with some of your personal friends. But, the ice ride videos are popular. The ditch riding videos, I have a playlist, I think, called Ditch Riding. Here, I thought that the ditch riding was something that a lot of people did. And then I learned, everybody's like, this is amazing. I want to do this. This is crazy. And it's like, this is all we have. We don't have trails. So, I learned that it's kind of just unique to us here. And those videos are fun, pretty legal. Some people maybe question if they're legal or not. We are allowed to do what we're doing. No, you shouldn't jump roads and stuff. But, like we're out in the sticks. It's quiet. We're being respectful, within reason. The sound doesn't travel far when there's no trees. We're in the middle of fields. It's not as disruptive as people would think. So the ditch riding is really fun. But then here people want to watch that stuff and they think it's so cool. And I don't really want to do it that much anymore because that was all I had. And I like going to the sand dunes. I like going and riding trails. I wish 50-inch trails were easier to find. Unfortunately, they're like gone. That's a bummer. So kind of went way off the topic on favorite videos, but I've made the channel. I've never wanted it to be, I guess I've compared to like a soap opera where you got to follow every single episode to know the story. Like, it's not meant to be watched in any certain order. If you want to see the parts evolve, especially on like the Raptor, that quads, well, the whole history of that thing from brand new is on the channel. And, you can slowly see it evolve over time to last year when I ended up wrecking it and we rebuilt the whole thing. And, it's just that history of parts is all on there. And people learn through those parts videos, which is cool. I'm not trying to be Mr. Nerd info guy and give them every spec, but I try to convey my opinions on why I pick some of the parts I pick and my other options I would have picked. And, there's garage videos. I've kept a lot of them pretty raw. I try not to do a lot of music. There's a bit of everything. And a lot of that comes from me getting bored with things and trying different stuff. Eventually, you just kind of get a wild hair and you decide to go for it. And the wrenching videos are a bit easier to do on a parts promotion level. So that's kind of why I would maybe take that angle. But then also they're there to help field questions for people if they want to have install questions. It's way easier to send someone a video with a lot of that info than to sit there and have email responses. So there's a whole angle on that too, and making the content to help inform people about products so that we don't have to answer the same questions over and over when we're talking to customers or followers. So the most successful recent video was the Raptor versus YFC Buyer's Guide. And I made that video because that was my most asked question for years. I had typed it out so many times that was actually one of the easiest videos I've ever made. And I just stood here and looked at both quads and just rattled off my reasons for why I like or don't like either of them, their strengths and weaknesses. And I knew that video would help a lot of people because those are the only 2 sport quads you could buy. So yeah, there's more on there to look if you want to look. There's snow rides and there's lots of dune riding.
You're a huge subscriber base. I'm sure you get a lot of comments and stuff, and you hear a lot from your viewers. What and everything that you've seen, you've been at some events lately and with the major manufacturers, with the Yamaha for sure. What would you say to the major manufacturers who claim, and some of them have said this directly to us, that there's no demand for new sport ATVs? What's your answer to that?
It's not that there isn't any demand for it. I think there's space I think there's space in our market for another player. I think there's a lot of people riding really old stuff now, and the used market is just, even when I started five years ago, the used market, there was still, quite a few decent quads out there, but it's starting to get pretty ratty. There's a lot of rough looking machines on Marketplace. And I think there's a lot of people that would gladly go buy a new quad, but they need to be priced right. And that, not to jump ahead, but I think the KO price point is going to be a really good way for people to kind of get into the idea of riding a quad. I think it's super important. Buying a new machine is really nice because if it was abused, if it's had oil changes, if the air filter was taken care of, just the basic things to keep it alive. And that's a priceless thing in buying a new quad, but not a lot of people, especially now with tax out the door. You're not going to spend 11 or 12 on a brand new quad. Even I would have a hard time. I tell people now when they want to buy a quad to go look for a low hour used Raptor or YFC because there's a lot of them out there. There's a market for at least updates. I think just anything new will drive some excitement. New with handlebars, even if it's the new Sport 4x4 from Yamaha that you guys are teasing. I think that's a super important quad. I guess I don't really know what to expect. I'm not holding my breath as far as new sport ATVs from like a Japanese brand anytime soon.
Well,
I think
you brought up a good point though. When I think about, going back 5-10 years ago, you could pick up say you're into the 3-wheeler, ATC 250R, even an 85, 86, you could get them for under $1,000. And now people want $3,600 for a decent just driver, nothing pristine. At least that's the way it is out here on the West Coast. And I think that says a lot.
Here.
I think it says a lot. With the value of used machines coming up so much, that tells me that there is a lack of
inventory,
new machines in the space. So yeah, people are going after these old machines. They're paying more, and then they're going to people like Duncan and CT and whoever and upgrading them. And all of these aftermarket manufacturers tell us they can't, like Duncan alone is saying they're working 7 days a week, multiple hours, and going as fast as they can. They can't even keep up with the amount of work that's coming in. So that tells us, that's just one element. Of course, there's our readers at Dirt Wheels, our viewers, just constantly badgering us, especially if
that's really interesting that they do that because you guys have a huge base and there's got to be a lot of side by side readers as well. And it's funny that you guys just get attacked by sport. I mean, I guess that's kind of the early beginnings of Dirt Wheels. So you have a lot of that foundation or that base of subscriber. So it's just, I see the effort from you guys. I mean, when I first started, I feel like when I saw Dirt Wheels magazine, there really wasn't any sport quads on there at all. And you guys have made a push. I see the effort, especially in the last couple of years of you guys kind of getting back on the bandwagon. And I think that's great. I think other people see that too.
We do it because we love it. And also those articles actually resonate big time, especially the vintage stuff, the new stuff. Anytime we put anything up Honda, Joe and I talk about it, we put something up Honda, the new 2026 Hondas are here, and we throw that up and everybody goes and they're looking. And hopefully they know it's not going to be there, but there's still that glimmer of hope that there's a 450R or hopefully a 250R on that list.
And normally we see the new Yamahas by now. We haven't seen the new Yamahas. I mean, it's going to be an August drop this year.
Yeah, possibly. You're right. I don't think we have seen anything yet, but they do have some stuff coming up. So I bet you we're going to hear that something in the next month or two.
Hopefully it's more than just bold new colors, maybe. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, but to Yamaha's defense, why would they upgrade anything when they're the only ones in the game right now, at least on the sport quad
I like
side?
that.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that because when I went to the first ride out at Oregon and I was talking to Pat, the test rider Pat, and he put me on the spot and I asked him if there would ever be any updates, if they would change anything. And he said, well, what would you change about the YC or the Raptor? And I didn't really have a good answer for him at the time because I've always thought of them as like a blank canvas. Like Joe was saying, you can take this thing and set it up however you want. So when he said, well, if you want this to be different from the factory, what would you do to it? And when it came to the 450, obviously they made the XC model or the X model, and that maybe poor timing on that machine. Maybe more people would want it now, but there aren't tight trails anymore. And there's not enough people racing to justify like an X focused cross country YFZ. But the Raptor is the only thing I've been telling people. I think these Raptors should kind of come with shocks and arms just like the YFZ now. I think they should come 48 inches wide. I don't think they should come at a narrower trail width anymore because you're lucky to find those trails. And a lot of people are spending 2,000 to 3,000 on a new machine to make it handle better. And they could come that way.
Yeah,
so I would see that.
Imagine, and any Raptor owner, I've had this conversation with them too. And if you've got your Raptor in the back of a service shop and they're telling you you need a motor rebuild and it's going to be $3,000, if there's a 48, 50 inch wide Raptor sitting on the floor outside, you're looking at your bike like, well, 3,000 for the motor. And if I want to set it up like that, it's going to be another 4,000. I'll just buy that new one. So yeah. I think it would definitely spike sales in the Raptor, which consistently sell out. I think it would spike sales for a year or two. So why not? And the trails have changed.
And it's safer. Unfortunately, I hate to see it, but in the last few years, now and then, you see a pretty ugly crash on Facebook. And whether I saw one this spring, some dude fell off in like fourth gear because he came around the corner and there was a tree down across the trail. And once again, that's riding beyond what you can see. And we all take risks when we do that at speed. But, accidents happen. And I've had a lot of, pucker moments, for lack of a better word, on the YFZ, where that thing has saved me because of how capable it is. And if I would have been on the Raptor, it would have been tumble. So I think it could have a better foundation. I guess that's up to them if they decide that it's worth it to make the change. It's just on cruise control, I guess.
Well, I think we are running out of time, but I guess I would like to ask you one more question. Maybe Jeff has one to follow up or not. But since you're riding all these different places, what would you say in brief are the top 3 places you've been to that you enjoy riding that somebody else out there looking for a new place to ride might want to check out?
Well, Glamis obviously is kind of mandatory. Not so much for the ride. I mean, the riding was epic, obviously. The vastness was amazing. It blew my mind that it just kind of goes as far as you can see. But the atmosphere was awesome. The quads were awesome. I love the dunes because you see the most sport quads at the dunes, actually. That's where I see them. I think they're very much alive at the dunes. So every year we go to Waynoka and we ride there. That is a blast. But for dune riding, I loved Glamis. I loved Winchester Bay. Was amazing. It was so pretty and scenic. It just blew my mind. I guess it's fun to ride places where it's beautiful, and I think it just like elevates the day. And we went to Hatfield this spring, and I just thought how rural it was, and we were like out in these mountains, and it was just so amazing. It's hard for me to pick a favorite place. I freak out and get so excited every time I get to ride somewhere I haven't been. I'm like a little kid every time when it's like, what's around the corner? How far does it go? What's up there? I like to go to places without knowing anything about them. And kind of, maybe I'll do a crash course on the acreage, or just, I guess if there's any facts I want to know, like if there's gas nearby or whatever, just something to like tell the viewers. But for the most part, it's fun to go to these places blind and have no idea what you're going to encounter. And it just makes it an adventure all day, and you're exploring all day. And that's kind of what I live for at this point.
Yeah, especially if it's a place that is unlike what you're used to at home. That's a big thing for me. I'm out here in Arizona. We ride a lot of desert and a lot of rocky, sand and all that. When I get a chance to go back and ride something like Joe gets to ride all the time, or you up in Minnesota, tighter trails in the trees, that is just, a dream for me because I'm not used to it. It's a whole new deal. Very exciting.
And the quads handle differently too in all these places. Whether, it's crazy how important tires are. I've got this whole wall over here of these tires. It's funny how, like, if you want to play on the ice, you want to play on the sand, if you want to have aggressive tires, if you want to have MX tires, but it's like the tires are so important and can really make your experience better too. So that's another thing that's important, I think, for people if they're going to go to new places. I think tires are an easy thing to make your experience a little bit better.
Hey, Pete, tell our viewers where they can learn more about you, where they can see your videos, give them all that contact information.
It's all under my name, Pete Hager. If you just type that in on Google, you should be able to more or less find everything. I've been around long enough now to where there isn't another Pete Hager that's doing something else, I don't think. So I'd say a Google search will probably bring up everything. Well, I'd look on my phone, but I'm recording with it. But Instagram is Pete.Hager. The YouTube channel is Pete Hager. Facebook is Pete Hager Media. I'm not on TikTok. My brother's starting to help me out a little bit here and there. So he's talked about TikTok. I do not want to be responsible for another thing. So maybe it'll end up on there. But yeah, those are our outlets. And then my website, PeteHager.com, is where we're selling parts and shirts, and merch has been the same for a long time. Definitely want to add to that. I would love to have a ton of ATV stuff. I even talked about making like ATV art, just stuff to hang on the wall, and even just getting more posters made or something. But it's just, unfortunately, there's always other stuff that takes priority, and I need to get like
We
a
have so much
graphic
time.
person. Yeah, I need to get a person whose job is to just help me with making that stuff. Because I think a lot of us, like, we used to get magazines back in the day, and they'd have a fold out, a poster in them, or just like you used to go to the dealership and they'd have posters on the counter, and used to hang stuff on the walls, and that stuff's kind of gone now. So I'd like to get some of that.
Yeah, the office is sparse. I could use some wall art here. That would be nice. That would be nice. Well, you guys make sure to subscribe to Pete Hager on all the social media platforms, especially YouTube, because that's where you're going to find most of his content. If you're in the market for some new sport ATV products to spice up your ATV, make sure to check out PeteHager.com. That is correct, right?
Yep. Thank you so much. We're going to be updating the menu a little bit, be a little easier to search on there. So there'll be some changes in the next half of the year on the website for sure. We're going to add some more stuff. And as of now, I am the main person that does the day-to-day. So if you buy on there and you message, you talk to me. I'm the one that does it all. So
there you go. That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
Pete, thank you so much for joining us, episode 2. I don't think we could have asked for a better guest to talk sport quads with than you. And I guess from here, we're going to say goodbye to Pete, and we're going to get ready to throttle some people in the rev limiter. Jeff, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate talking to you. Look forward to riding with you again soon.
Thank you dude, it was such a privilege. And when you asked me to do this, it was like the second guest. Like, there's a lot of pressure here. Like, holy cow. All right. I guess I feel like I'll do my best, but the Save Sport Quad thing, I was honestly kind of worried early on, like, holy cow. Cause like every year people say, oh, it's last year for Yamaha quads. And it's just like, yeah, they do that every year. They're not going to quit. So it's not that I don't think they need to be saved anymore. I want to see things turn around, but I guess I feel like they're here to stay and they're not going to ever disappear. And I'm still going to embrace that idea of save the sport quads. But I'm going to keep making stuff as long as I can. I'm going to keep riding as long as I can hold on. And I think this isn't over yet. I think we're going to see more stuff happen in the space. And all the people that ride, everybody's so fun, man. I've met so many people. And I can count on like one hand the people that were not enjoyable. And I've met hundreds. And it's just a great community of enthusiasts. And I can't say enough good things about the activity. If I didn't have the friends that I have to do it with, I probably wouldn't be doing it anymore. And we all kind of keep each other in it. So just to kind of finish off there, that I really like all the people. The people are awesome.
Yep. Quad riders are great.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Pete.
Yep. We'll catch you guys later.
Soon.
Yep. We'll see you.
All right, it's time for our favorite part of the show. And if you hear this sound, somebody probably screwed up. Time for the rev limiter, where we react to the things that people who don't know what they're talking about say. And we actually maybe throw a bone or two to a couple of nice viewers who we just wanted to shout out. Jeff, what's on the dumb docket for July?
Well, we did have a comment about the last show in which we talked to Brock Harden of Kale about the Jackal 300, which is, coming to the U.S. market. And one of the guy must not even looked at the video or anything. He just said, kids quad, LOL, get out of here with that crap. Bring back the 450cc class.
Well, the Raptor, if you go back, the Raptor 250 and the 300EX are both 16 and up bikes. This is a 16 and up bike. I think as a guy who's been in this industry for a long time, both of us, if you asked any of us who were there when the Raptor 250 was introduced and Yamaha did that press launch in Long Beach, California, next to the Queen Mary, I bet you if you ask anybody who was there for that event, what was your top 3 press events of all time, that thing's going to be on the list. And it was a bunch of grown dudes riding around a backyard track next to the bay. And so just because it's a small quad doesn't mean it's not a lot of fun. And it is an adult machine. And it also fills a huge gap in the segment between 90 CVTs or a TRX 90 and a YFZ 450. Like, people need a bike between 90 and 450. That's a huge gap to jump over. And I don't think this guy knows what he's talking about. I just think that he's thinking about himself. And
yeah, he doesn't know. He's just, we get it. Yeah, we all want to see a new 450, but this machine, there is a 450 out there that you can buy. There is nothing in this class. We're talking about a 300cc two-stroke. This is a 16-up machine. It's liquid cooled. It's EFI. There's no 300EX.
Hey,
Hey,
it's a 4-stroke, brother.
Oh, did I say two-stroke? Well,
yeah. Well,
I know I'm coming in like this guy. I want those back too.
Right, exactly. So, and the more people you get riding sport ATVs, which I think this machine could introduce with its level of affordability, I think it's going to get a lot more people potentially into sport quads. And if there's more people moving up and wanting to buy a 450, the chances are you're going to see more new 450s. So take that.
Yeah.
Next.
Be patient, baby steps. And take back that comment. That was stupid. All right, next comment. This one is from it was about the last podcast too. Somebody popped in here, and he's actually a very good friend of both of ours. Jared Kelly, the former, well, I shouldn't be former. He was the senior editor at ATV Sport Magazine. If any of you remember that, I actually worked for Jared. I was the managing editor at ATV Sport.
He was also in PR at Can-Am for some time.
Yeah,
I think
that's
Can-Am
right.
Us with loaner units. Jared got us hooked up with Can-Am. So thank you for that, sir.
Yeah, Jared loves ATVs. He's working in the marine industry now, I know. But I always love hearing from my old buddy Jared. But he wrote about our last podcast he watched. It said, a cool thing here from two chums with faces for radio. And I got nothing. He's right.
I got nothing. And, face for radio and a voice for print. So thanks,
That's
Jared.
right.
It's good to see you, buddy. And hope
yeah,
you stop back by.
Great to hear from you. And I hope we see each other soon. He pops up at ATV Sport intros every once in a while, or ATV intros every once in a while. So hope to see you in the future, bud. Moving on to the next one. This was sent in. I don't even have the names for these people. Oh, Dorothy Pepper. She wrote Arctic Cat, and I think this was in response to the last segment too, as far as I think this was a response to the KO. She wrote Arctic Cat made the DVX 400 4x4.
Oh, this was in response to the Yamaha patent drawings.
Oh, that's right.
Because we were discussing in the last show that if this new Yamaha twin cylinder 4x4 comes to market, the Renegade, the Polaris Scramblers up until now, the Sport 4x4 segment has all been built off machines that were also built to be sport utility machines with racks, hitches, things like that. So we were discussing Yamaha being the first manufacturer that could potentially build a pure sport 4x4 without dual intention, to be lighter and more agile and all those good things. So anyway, go ahead, please.
Yeah. And Dorothy said, and I'm assuming this is Dorothy, maybe this is her kids using her mom's email. But they said Arctic Cat made the DVX 400 4x4 sport quad from like 04 to 08 at least. And that was a pure sport ATV with sport plastics. Yeah, they did make the DVX 400, but it was not a 4x4. Apparently, you don't know what a 4x4 is. That's a four-wheel drive ATV. Arctic Cat did not make one of those. And Arctic Cat actually didn't even make that machine. That was a Suzuki 400. Suzuki had the LTZ 400. And they also made it for Kawasaki, the KFX 400. It was the same machine. All of them just had different colors, different plastic styling to fit each manufacturer. I actually got to go to the Arctic Cat intro when they introduced that. I remember I think you and I were talking earlier, they had a black and red version and a black and green version of it. They also released Tony Stewart was big in NASCAR at the time he was winning. They had a Tony Stewart edition. I remember it was Home Depot orange color with the number 20 on it, which I don't know if it sold real well or not, but yeah, cool ATVs, but it was not a four-wheel drive. Sorry
I'll
to
tell you,
burst your bubble.
that went on when we premiered the episode, that this discussion went on and on in the live chat with Dorothy. And I'm like, we're going to check the internet, verify, but it's one of those deals where you don't want to say you absolutely don't know what you're talking about. Cause like, what if I'm wrong? But I knew like, no, the DVX was a Z400 with some less attractive bodywork. And that's what it was. So, great machine, but 2-wheel drive. We'd like to see it back on the market, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Any of those 400s, great machines. And we could even argue about what was better. That's that or the Honda 400EX. I'm going to lean towards the 400, the Suzuki specifically 400, that machine was. It had liquid cooling, great performer. I prefer it over the Honda 400EX. What do you think, Joe?
Oh, definitely the Suzaki Cat, Sawasaki Cat, however you can combine these three names together into that 400. Yeah, it's a better bike. It's water cooled. It made a little more horsepower, stock handling,
fun to throw around.
Close. And every mod you add to the Z400 DVX KFX, it's the gap in performance grows a little bit more. So, I mean, you could make that thing run with 450s as proven by Suzuki Yoshimura back in the Doug Gus days. So, sorry, Dorothy, no 4-wheel drive on the DVX.
Now, good idea though. I'd love to see that happen. I'd love to just see that 400 come back. Let's move on. We ran a story. God, it's been almost 2 years since I think we ran this story, but we've run it 4 times online because it's just such a cool story. Scott Perimeter, he found a Yamaha Tri-Z 250 3-wheeler. I think it was an 86 in the original crate. It was over in Europe somewhere. He managed to track this machine down, bought it. The whole story is on dirtwheelsmag.com. If you want to look it up, just throw Tri-Z 250 into the search block and it pops right up. He found this machine, went through all the trouble of tracking it down, bought it, had it imported back to the US, I believe from Europe somewhere. And when they got it here, he called on Mike Palmgren, who we talked about in the last episode. This is the top guy for power sports restorations. He restored a whole bunch of Honda machines for the Honda's their museum that they have in Japan. Has done countless Honda restorations. But he got with Scott on this. They went through meticulous care to remove this thing from its original crate, put it all together, cleaned it up. It looks beautiful. You can see all the photos on Dirt Wheels of this machine. It looks, I think they made it look better than showroom condition back in, the mid 80s, the way they put this thing together. It's beautiful. There were some hateful comments on this thing, which I just had to get a laugh about. Most people really liked it. Thanks, Scott, for sharing this with all of us. It's a beautiful machine. But Rich Yazlik, he piped in originally, and his comment about this story was, history has been ruined so one person could get their 15 minutes of fame and stroke their ego, all under the guise of claiming he did it so people could see it. People could have seen it in its crate at the AMA Museum or possibly a dozen other museums. But it's ruined now. May as well just go ahead and beat it to a pulp.
Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's go in there in a race. I'm all for it. I mean, that's why I can't buy one of it. Couldn't pay that much money for one of these machines because I'm just going to go out and ride it. I remember my dad, my grandfather got me a baseball autographed by Dizzy Dean when I was a little kid. What do you think I did? The first thing I did was take it out and hit it with a bat and destroyed the value of this thing. I got spanked so bad for that and I deserved it. But even at, today I'm in my 50s. If I had a brand new machine, 3-wheeler like this or a quad that was just removed from the crate, yeah, the temptation is real. I'd want to go out and ride the thing. But Rich, the reply I got for you is, it sounds like your ego is just bruised because you didn't get there first, because you didn't have the what you needed to buy this yourself. So That's on you. You should, if you wanted to put it in a museum, you should have bought it, went through all the trouble to have it imported back here, and you could have put it in the museum. It would have cost you a fortune to do that. Meanwhile, so everybody else could enjoy it. But Scott spent the time and money and the energy to track that machine down. He imported it here, and he did preserve it, and he put it together, and he shared it with all of us, along with bringing in the top guy for restorations, Mike Palmgren. You didn't do that. So, who are you to lecture him on how to handle something that you never owned? He owned it. He found it. He paid for it. That's just the way things are in America. When you buy something, it's his. He can do whatever he wants. And I think it's really cool that he shared it with all of us. But it sounds like you'd rather see it collapsing in a collapsing cardboard box in a museum somewhere collecting dust. That's a cool story. But maybe you should have bought it yourself and donated it to your fantasy museum. Scott chose to unbox it, preserve it, show it to the world for free. There's no velvet ropes around it, no museum fee to get in to see it. It's there for everyone to enjoy. As for your 15 minutes of fame comment,
you just got it.
Yeah, your comment just screams jealousy. That's what I see. What I hear in this. I mean, I think it was just such an awesome story. By the way, we have photos of it in the crate, so you can see that too.
All right, so Jeff, you beat him to a bloody pulp. Let me pull you back.
All
right. So that hurt.
Huh?
I said, well, that one hurt.
That one hurt. Yeah,
that one hurt. That one hurt a little bit. That stung. But
well, I just want to get back. Well, he is right on one statement and the part. Yeah, as far as beating it to a pulp, you're right. Personally, I'd do exactly that. I'd take it out and rip it down the trail, as Yamaha intended. That's what these vehicles are made for. And I'm glad I didn't buy it, because I probably would have destroyed it by now. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Really cool comment from Cody Roberts. Do you know Cody? I think Cody. This was over on ATV On Demand. This comment.
Yeah, it was a viewer from our last podcast.
Yeah, he said Quadcast is going to be huge. It's something the sport needs bad. Great job, guys. Thank you, Cody. Appreciate hearing that. Let's all work on bringing sport quads back together. What do you got to say, Joe?
I thanks, Cody. I appreciate it. We appreciate the positive feedback. And fortunately, on the internet where we do a segment trolling trolls, it's kind of like, we didn't know what to expect from feedback from episode 1, and it was really genuinely pretty positive and encouraging. So thanks, Cody, and everybody else who chimed in. And actually, even if you had something constructive and critical to say, we appreciate that too, because we want to keep getting better, and we want the show to be entertaining, and we want you guys to tune in monthly to check it out. So Is that it for this month?
Yeah, I'll just add to that. Appreciate the comments, whether they're positive or negative. And you guys give us something to make fun of. At the same time, also something to improve upon. We appreciate it.
All right. Well, let's finish this up and get into the final lap.
Let's get it.
And we are back. It's time for the final lap. Let's wrap this thing up. Jeff, what do you got coming up?
And right now we are finishing up our October issue. I think I kind of went over this in episode 1, but it's our sand issue, finishing up editorial and photos on that. Also headed out to the Sand Sport Super Show. That is in September. So if you are out at the show, stop by our booth, and hopefully we got some free magazines to give out at that. I'm going to give you a little preview of what you will see in that particular issue, which is very cool because I shot this photo. But here you go. Little Raptor 700R action. Ryan Radovich, our test rider, we were out there with Lenny Duncan doing a photo shoot. I love doing these shoots. They are so much fun. And, because sport quads.
Right. Yeah, that thing looks like a ton of fun. Everybody complains about Garage Queens, and then Duncan Racing builds the bike so beautiful. I don't know how people go out and scuff them.
And they let us do it. They let us go out and, tear these things up and ride them. And Well, we don't tear them up. We take care of them. But man, the Raptor 700 especially, probably, YFZ is great, but this is probably the best dune quad you can buy right now. I'm sure that you can buy right now. I said that. I know all you Banshee guys are getting fired up and angry at me. Banshee's a fantastic machine too. Go Yamaha.
Hey, man.
Hey, what else? I had something else going on here. Oh, I'm going out to do some racing this weekend. So let's hurry up and get through this so I can get in the truck and head to New Mexico.
Oh, fair. Well, I wanted to show you something that showed up. You may have had something to do with it. So here's the latest cover of Dirt Wheels magazine.
Oh, man, you're covering up the best quad with your address label.
Well, I didn't put it on there. You got to talk to somebody at High Torque who stamped it. So that's unfortunate. But it's
I got mine right here. There you go. There it is on the bottom.
Yeah, mine's been devalued. That's what happens when you subscribe. If you want to see the cover and you don't want to wreck it, go buy it on the newsstands. But we go inside and look, all 2-page spread of the KO.
Yeah.
Turn the page. More all color KO. So this thing got a big spread in the magazine. It's cool to see this many sport quads. I know you guys can't do it every month because a lot of side-by-side enthusiasts out there as well.
Yeah.
And
they have their place for sure. I still like side-by-sides. I don't want to come off as a side-by-side hater. I'm a sport quad guy. That's how I got here. Love 4x4 ATVs, side-by-sides. Love overlanding side-by-sides too and stuff. But we're all about ATVs here.
Right. If you say that word again, we have to kick you off. So yeah, their cages are fun, but they don't get enough love. That's why we do the show. Just wrapped up a Brute Force 750 shoot test. It's rained almost every day since January here, but we got it dry, got that done, and we have all the players in place for a 700 single shootout, which means we have 3 tests coming on the Suzuki, the Can-Am, and the Honda 700, 750s. And then we'll line them up and do a shootout. So that should be fun. Don't know exactly what we got coming in next month's show, but we will be getting after it very soon. I'm sure there'll be some new products. We have a guest to pick yet. We have a couple names.
All good
possibilities. Too. Yeah, all good. It's like, which one of these good names do we want to use and pull in? So shouldn't be any disappointments. And you got anything else for this month, Jeff?
No.
All right. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your July. Jeff and I will be back to talk ATVs more in August, and I'm sure we'll see some new models drop in between now and then from some major OEMs. And when we do, we look forward to talking about them. And
absolutely,
we will see you in August.
See you in August.